I have a very special guest, Tracy DiSabato-Aust. And Tracy, what is your nickname there?
The Queen of Deadheading, or Tracy Scissorhands. Very glamorous, isn't it?
It is. And I bet you got that doing all that research on this wonderful book.
I did, Judy, yes. And I promote pruning and try to inspire people not to be afraid to prune perennials.
And you know, I think that fear is just so uncalled for because it's so easy and you're really going to improve the plants in your garden.
Oh, you are. There's so many benefits to pruning, but people are hesitant to do it. But perennials are extremely forgiving, and we can really go in, and the worst that could happen is we'd have to buy a new plant.
Oh, gee.
How bad would that be?
Now, this is a beautiful aster, and being in the fall, it is just at its glory right now, but there were some things we could have done earlier in the season when it was shorter to make it maybe a little bit shorter and just a nicer compact plant.
Yes, actually, and that I think is some of the most fun, if you will, part of the pruning information is we can actually go in and cut perennials back by half or even 2/3 when they're maybe about knee high. And we can use head shears, hand pruners, and what we'll do is we'll usually create a much more compact plant. And sometimes we can delay the flowering with that and time our perennials to flower at certain times for maybe an open garden or a special event.
So, you know, I think going into the garden and you can make these ideas and do it as we just kind of tend our garden and relax in our garden.
Oh yes, it's very therapeutic. It's, you know, it's quite zen-like to do the pruning, or actually you're a different person when you come in the house and you've done some pretty intense pruning. You're a little more relaxed. So.
Yeah, and it's cheaper than therapy.
Yes, it is.
Now on this phlox here, we could have done some things earlier for this too.
Yes, actually phlox respond beautifully to either pinching, cutting back. You can even cut them back by about 4 to 6 inches when they're in flower or just slightly in tight bud, and it'll delay the bloom by 2 to 3 weeks. And so if you're into cut flowers and flower arranging, we can actually have phlox flowering throughout the entire season with this preemptive or pruning before flowering.
Well, that's really neat because, you know, here in the Northwest we do have an extended season, so it'd be nice to have flowers into November.
Absolutely.
That would be
for
great.
Sure.
You know, here's another favorite over here. It's delphinium, and I think people kind of get really nervous about delphinium. So what would we do with that one?
Well, delphinium requires several prunings really to look their best. They don't respond to pruning before flowering, in other words, that well, to delay them. But after they flower, we can come in, we can deadhead to a lateral leaf. So we could come in maybe a little bit before this stage even, and come in and go to a lateral leaf and prune, or we can look for lateral buds. Often there'll be new stems coming up with new flowers. And then once it's gotten to this stage, you know, later in the season, we've had several different phases of flowering, Judy. We can come in and you can see this foliage at the base. And this is also a good time to come in, prune off all this tatty foliage, bring it right down into the base. All of this new growth will usually then put new flower stems out.
Wow.
Yeah, so it'll extend the bloom time on the delphinium really nicely.
That is nice because sometimes everything is blooming early in the season and you want some of these flowers to carry on later into the summer. And
absolutely. Yes, it's a great technique for that. It's really fun because it takes us kind of beyond this just, oh, we're going to deadhead.
Yes.
And moves it into a whole new realm.
Now, I know in the book at the back there's some areas to journal.
Yes.
And I think that is so important, is to make notes.
Oh, thank you. I agree, because we forget what we've done that we've been successful with, or we forget to do what we should have done. And we can make little notes in the journal in the back of Well Tended and refer to that the next season, or we might say, oh, next year I promise I'm going to do this right.
Well, I just think this is a great book. You go genus
much.
by genus, plant by plant, what to do. There's really no other book like it that I've ever found. And I think that it's just really great out on the market. And thank you so much for being here and giving us these tips today.
Appreciate you having me.
Thank you.